Hey everyone, and welcome back. So now we're going to be creating something a little bit more complex. Now I've already kind of designed this for you all, and you can go ahead and really start to dress these designs up if you feel you want to. But for the sake of just learning how to get these UI elements together, these layers together, making sense of all this, I mean, you can just leave it as is, because I think that's kind of the best way to just approach this type of experimentation until you're really ready. But we're going to actually get a little bit more into how we can start creating like maybe even navigation systems. So I have like a little mobile nav over here, and let's take a look at that design. So I've zoomed in, I'm on my design panel, I'm on the first frame over here, and I'm just going to click this navigation. So I don't have it grouped or anything. You can group it if you'd like. You can put it in a frame if you like. When we're typically creating like navs, we're going to be putting them in frames. So, it's nice and neat, but for the sake of this example, we're just going to keep it like this. So this is the background. We have this circle, this circle, this circle as well. And we have a little line here. So if I were to think about this as an actual navigation, I have my active nav state. I have my inactive state. My active state is going to have a little square rectangle here. If we zoom in, it's kind of like a little line that I've designed. So what I want to happen is I want to make sure that when I click like say this nav item, I'm going to go to this screen. This is going to change to a different fill, but also this active nav state is going to move. It's not just going to appear. I mean, it's up to you entirely in terms of how you would like it to look. But for me, I want it to actually slide across. And remember what I said, like we can throw all these different types of properties together to create some pretty cool interactions. Like right now we can see some position that we're going to be, manipulating here. We're going to see fill. So let's get to it. Now, I also have this other kind of layer over here, and I don't want you to really worry about that too much. But what I've done is I've created a square. I have another square on the second screen, and I've just up in this right corner here, that is where I've modified the radius. So that's why it's kind of rounded. If I do something like 20, it'll be less rounded. I have it set to 75, so it's kind of like in between a circle and a square. So I just have that there. I also have the text at the very top. And if you noticed, these are all named differently. I don't want it to animate. I mean, we can go back and do that if we want, but I don't want it to animate. This is where we can start thinking about actual screen transitions. Even the text at the top is named differently. I have text 03, text 02, text 01. I have circle 3, square 2, and I have square 1. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the navigation. And some of these pieces are going to fall in together. So I'm going to click prototype. So I already have them set for every single screen. If you look at the nav, I have the second one in its active state, and I even have the third one in its active state. So let's zoom out a bit so we can see exactly what we're doing here. And this is where it's going to maybe start getting a little bit more complex for you. If I click on this little nav state, I'm going to drag it to that screen because that's the second screen. And from here, what we can do is we are going to go on click and we're going to hit Smart Animate. We're going to keep it really simple. So all I want to do is I want to do the same for the second screen, and I want to be able to go back and forth. So, click on that. It's going to create that little plus, and it's actually going to go back to that screen. I have it set to that. I have Smart Animate and 300 milliseconds. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So here we go. Simple transition 2 is what I have this flow named. So if I click it, now, two things here that I want to talk about. You'll notice that we actually have our nav animating. It looks really cool. We have that little active state on the bottom. It's going back and forth. It's really going to tell our users what's happening. It's going to tell them exactly where you are in your active state, which is super helpful. Now, this is the second thing. If we look at the top here, we're going to notice that there really is no animation. The only thing that's going to happen is if you don't have things named the same, and you have things that are smart animating, it's going to automatically apply a dissolve effect. So these are just going to kind of slowly come in and change. It won't actually animate from a square to a rounded square. So there's a couple things we can do here. We could rename these the same and have them actually animate. But when we're thinking about different screen states, that doesn't happen at all. What typically does happen is a new screen comes in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our first line. We're going to click that one on the screen to go to the second screen. And here's where we can apply a different animation. We can do something like move in. And what that is actually going to do is it's going to move in everything, like from the right or the left. It's up to you. Let's take a look. So I have it set to move in, and you can see with that animation, there's a little bit of a preview there. Or you can do like push. So let's do push. So what's going to happen is you'll notice that it can push from left to right. You can have it come in from the left side, but it's kind of weird if it would come in from the left side, because if we're thinking about, how a user moves from left to right in a nav, we want the screens to kind of behave similarly, because if I click this second option and I have something coming in from the left, if I started from the first option, then it's kind of jarring, because if you're moving to the right and you have something else coming in from the left, it's kind of weird. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to have this item, this screen, come in from the left as soon as I click it. And another thing to notice here is that it will have an option to smart animate any matching layers. So if we don't click that, this is what it's going to look like. The whole screen will transition. So if we do that again, now that's not what we want. What we do want is to smart animate those matching layers. So let's take a look at that. Go back. Here we go. So pretty cool, right? As soon as we move to the second screen, the nav stays in place while the entire screen over here will shift like you're transitioning to a new screen. It's really helpful if you want users to understand where they are in a flow sequence. That little bit of motion really helps keep users' minds attached to like this kind of narrative you're trying to create, from going left to right, right to left, etc. So let's kind of do that for the rest. I'm going to click this one on the second screen and I'm going to do push. And I'm going to have that one coming in from the left side. Click the smart animate button. So that way, when I go back the first time, this is sliding in left. So let's take a look. So now I have a very strong narrative between all these different types of screens and the navigation items. We can go back and even start to, connect all the other screens. If I click this third navigation item and I do the exact same, it's going to actually pre-fill this push animation for me, which is super helpful from working on larger prototypes. It's going to be coming in from the right because it's my right to this active link. And same thing for this one. I'm going to go back to the first screen and go all the way to that third screen. It's going to have it already pre-filled. It's going to smart animate the nav for me. Same thing with the second one, but this time that's going to come in from the left side. And I'm going to do it for the very first option all the way at the beginning. And that is already pre-filled to the one I just selected. So it's going to come in from the left side. So it's starting to look a bit messy here, but that's totally fine if you're just trying to showcase a couple of different interactions in like a little sequence here. And that's why using like a good starting point and creating like a flow, you can have multiple pages. So you don't have to worry about like 50 different screens being attached, which you could still do for larger flows if you're really interested. So let's take a look at what this looks like if we put it all together. So now we have everything all linked up. You can see those hotspots, super helpful. And now we have a little simple animation with our navigation, and we have our actual content within the screen swiping in and out just from the left or the right, depending on the location in the nav that you're in. So if I'm in the second screen, if I click this, it should be coming in from the left screen over here. So let's do it again. Boom. If I'm on the very first option, any option I click should be coming in through the right. So really, really great little animation. And it just took us a couple minutes to put that together.